Transform Your Teens, hashtag Transform Your Teens, a webinar series brought to you by Invisalign. Invisalign system is the world's most advanced technology for teeth straightening, and Invisalign believes in transforming smiles and changing lives. My name is Tiska Chopra and I'm your host for this evening. I'm an actor, author, film producer, and most importantly, a mother. In my 26-year-long career, I've been part of theatre, movies, web series, and much more. From Hostages, the web series that you might have seen on Hotstar, to Good News, which was a Dharma film last year. You might have seen me in, of course, Tare Zameen Par. I've grown up a lot in the movies, working as an actor. But in this journey, one of the toughest things has been to strike a work-life balance. And balance it along with making my family a loving one and one that has enough care and attention from me. As my little one is growing up, there are so many questions that come to my mind, and to some I have answers and to many others I don't. With Invisalign's hashtag Transform Your Teens, we openly discuss some of the topics which we as parents have on our minds, and especially if your kids are turning into teens. How have I become the kind of person I am today? This is one question which arises in the minds of us as adults. Our personality development happens right through our growing ages. And the personality of a person is essentially, in today's world, the inner strength of the person is reflected in many ways, but I think one of the biggest ways a person's personality is reflected is their smile. So today we'll understand how important it is to develop a child's personality right through from teenage years to adulthood. And for this, I'd like to welcome the most wonderful Anupriya Kapoor, a health and wellness influencer and blogger with a significant following on all social media platforms. Her focus has always been to get her audience to talk about women's equality, particularly taboo issues, and get people to take their sort of well-being very, very seriously. She's also the co-founder of India's leading women's intimate hygiene organization, Imbue Natural, where she plays the critical role of setting the tone of the organization on social media platforms and PR organizations. She's a single mother who lives with her son, her father, and her two lovely cats. Please welcome Anupriya Kapoor.
Hi, Tiska.
Yeah.
I've loved you in Tare Zameen Par, obviously, and you would have heard it 101 times or maybe more. But yeah, I love you.
Thank you.
And I'm glad to be here.
Thank you, and very, very welcome to Invisalign's hashtag Transform Your Teens. And now we welcome our second panelist, who is no less illustrious. We have with us Dr. Prahlad Shinava. Dr. Prahlad Shinava. Dr. Prahlad Shinava is one of the most sought-after orthodontic consultants and Invisalign specialists in the country, with a world-renowned consultancy network based out of Bangalore city. Privileged to have been educated at some of the most premier dental institutions in the country, like the JSS Dental College, Mysore, and Bapuji Dental College, Devangere. He has further completed his membership in orthodontics from the Royal College of Physicians and Surgeons in Glasgow, Scotland. With over 10 years of clinical experience as a practicing dentist, he's currently consulting Invisalign specialists with Apollo Hospitals and Narayana Hospitals and many other prominent clinics across South India. To add to his honors, he's a platinum Invisalign provider and the first Invisalign doctor in the country to have acquired the iTeroflex scanner, which is considered a modern-day marvel in cutting-edge orthodontic technology. Welcome, Dr. Shinava.
Thank you so very much, Tiska. It's a wonderful introduction that you gave. I'm just very privileged and honored to be here with you two guys. Hopefully, we share some very interesting tips on how to build up a teen's personality tip.
Absolutely, Doctor. I look forward to both your different and varied expertise. So my first question is to Anupriya. I struggle with this a lot, Anupriya, frankly. How do you maintain the perfect work-life balance, and how do you inspire your child? Particularly, in the past few months, almost a year now since it's been the lockdown. What is it like, with webinars and with being involved on our computers and, we being there but not being with the child. So how do you maintain this work-life balance and how do you inspire your child?
Tiska, so for me, I've been very inspired by Sheryl Sandberg Lean In, and I've practically applied that across my life. I lean and ask for support from my family, especially my dad, because I'm a single mother. And I have absolutely no qualms in saying I'm not perfect and I can't do it all. And that kind of gives me time, because then I get support from him and from certain of my friends if need be, so that I can give more time to my son. And as far as he's concerned, I have a very open conversation with him on certain days that, these are the next 4 days when I'm going to be extremely busy. So whenever you include the child into your life and tell them how it is and the way it is, I think they kind of really understand. And he's going to be 13 now, so he takes it quite well, and he understands. And I'm like, these next 4 days I'm going to be extremely busy. Then the next 2 days, I'm there for you. And catching up on his favorite Netflix and favorite whatever series that he's watching really helps me connect better. So yeah, lean in is my mantra.
That's wonderful, because that's so valuable to know, because I think my daughter's almost 8, but going on 18. Girls are super mature. So her thing is that why are you working so much, Mom? And I don't really have an answer to that, because there is a lot of work comes out of passion, both yours, mine, and even the doctors. There's so many aspects to that, and you can't really leave your work and kind of say that it's not important. At the same time, the balance is important, and I love what you just said, that you can make the child a partner, and you can call them into your life and say that this is what's happening for the next 2 to 3 days, and then we will find a balance over the next 2 days. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And doctor, what is do you have children?
Well, Tiska, none of my own, but hundreds of my patients are teenage kids and even younger, to be honest. And being, a son of a working mother myself, I totally understand how much of an importance a mother's personality can have on their child. I'm honestly saying both of you are role models, not only to your kids, but a lot more who are there, in our society. So I think hats off to you guys that you're pulling off the perfect work-life balance, however tough it might be to actually manage in real life. So yeah.
Thank you so much. That's so sweet of you, doctor. At least someone's recognizing our worth. The children sometimes
I'm sure all the children of working mothers do recognize this and value this much more than anybody else.
I think especially when they grow older is when they look back and kind of really appreciate whatever has been done. Maybe around this stage when they're growing up, they kind of struggle with the fact that, because I remember my son used to say a couple of years back, but Mama, this friend's mother doesn't work. She's always there for him. And, I would have to sit and explain. So I think the key is to keep talking and keep involving them. And I'm sure once, the kids grow older, they would recognize whether a mother is stay at home or working, the value of, how much she's sacrificed and, given for them.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also in addition to that, there's another thing which is quite valuable, I find. Anupriya, please jump in if you feel like. I feel that if you kind of draw the line and say, okay, I will not work, say, after 8 o'clock most days, unless there's an emergency, or 7:30 or whatever time one wants to set, then that's a way of saying that, okay, any time after this is sort of non-negotiable and your time, and if there's anything important, you can catch up after the child's gone to bed. Another thing that I do is try and wake up before her, at least an hour. So then I get that downtime, which is me time, which is time to do my yoga or meditation or, anything else that I need to do. And then work becomes work time. So, these are just some things which I think I've learned from a lot of other mothers, because I'm on the school moms group as well. And we keep discussing this, how to deal with this. So Anupriya, this is my next question to you. What are the other influences a teen kid should have in their life or would have in their life?
Influences would mean, if you could just
So, for example, I'm talking about working parents. So grandparents, like you already spoke about your father who chips in, and other influences. So you spoke about friends. Any other influences that you think that a child that can sort of balance out a child?
So, grandparents definitely so. I'm blessed that my father lives with me and my son gets to, hear his stories and, a lot of stories actually, and the kind of knowledge he comes with. Apart from that, I think books. It's so important to kind of inculcate that habit. And the way it can be done, especially now, the attention span is a big thing now. People don't have the attention span. So and how I did it was I used to just keep reading in front of him, and I would just say, I'm just reading, like 45 minutes, don't disturb me. And I would sit in front of him and read. And that sort of developed the habit in him of reading. So I feel books and it kind of, places the books can take you, especially during the COVID time. That's the only way to be going to places. And yeah, it just, I feel good books is really important for good influences, of course. Yeah.
Doctor, what do you feel?
Well, Tiska, they're in their teenage years, they're in their formative years. They definitely get influenced by everything that happens around them. Now, because I'm in the line of work wherein I do interact with a lot of kids, I can vouch for this that 8 out of 10 teens usually aren't very secure about their appearance. They're quite insecure, in fact. And 7 of them are really, really conscious about how their teeth appear. They're not very happy, So the first question that they come to me with is, Doctor, if I have braces done, if I get my teeth corrected, would I be more accepted with my peers? Would my friends like me more? Would they have a different impression of me? And this all is very, very important for the child's self-esteem. Honestly speaking, it's only based on our social interaction and our environment surrounding us that bottom line develops our personality. Now, if we need to make our children self-confident, thinking adults, I think they need to have a very, very good understanding of how things around them move and work, and they need to be confident. They need to have their self-esteem up so that they have a very good personality and they turn into good, mature thinking individuals or adults.
Very true, Doctor. Anupriya, back to you with a question. What is this term that we hear often these days? What is free-range parenting, and how important is it to let your child explore things on their own and then guide them wherever they need help? But how important is it to let them explore things?
So I wouldn't call myself a true blue free-range parent. I don't let my son just go out on the road and take a bus to wherever he wants to. But to me, free-range parenting means letting a child be, like doctor said, like a thinking person. Be his own or her own person by not forcing them to follow or pursue your dreams. Let them choose what they like. It's like, my biggest inspiration in terms of parenting is the Khalil Gibran's poem called Children, which says that, your children are born out of you, but not for you. If you keep that in mind, then you raise your child very differently, because then you let, you don't fulfill your dreams through them. You kind of let them develop their own personality, let them choose what they like to do instead of what you would like to do. I mean, I would want my son to play a guitar, but he might not want to. He might want to play drums. So I don't want to, focus on that. And that's the reason why I just let my son decide. And that's where, again, books come in. Because, books give so many ideas and so many more things that you can do. So yeah, that's what it is for me. Apart from that, when my son was 8, I put him in a flight to meet his dad at Philippines. Like, go. And of course, there is a flight assistance given in good airlines. But when he came back as a different person, just that back and forth journey for him on his own with the assistant changed him. And I can't even tell you, when he came, there was his body language was different. So I think we have to guide them, give them direction, but also let them be.
There's this really wonderful thing that I heard, that you should nature has a plan for the child. Our job is to sort of keep a little like a protective layer around them, but let them grow, and they will find their own spot in the sunshine. Doctor, your views on free range parenting?
Well, honestly, like I said, Tiska, we don't need mechanized robots out of our children. There was an industrial revolution way back in the 50s, 60s, when we were trained to be just probably, this very narrow stream of individuals following all rules and regulations because the countries needed that at that point in time. But today, in the society that we live in, I think we need more and more thinking individuals. We need more and more curious individuals. We need those rule breakers in one way or the other who can, change or transform the entire, scene that we are in right now. It's a fast-paced life that we live in. We can't restrict our kids to, just hold on to whatever we have had, the shackles way back in the day. So I think it's just a matter of time that kids will break away. It will happen, and I hope it happens for the good, because I can see a lot of today's kids being a lot more smarter than what I was for sure back in my childhood time. So yeah, I can definitely vouch for this, that we need to be like the guide around them, but not necessarily enforce our views upon them so much that it restricts their own personality in general.
I think in India we have a tendency to kind of force feed certain things down children's throats, which is sort of the ambitions of the parents, as Anupriya mentioned, is like sort of shoved down the throat of a child, and ye banna hai, ye karna hai, family business hai, falana hai, dhimkana hai. We just keep putting that into the child, and I don't think that's very valuable, because you're throttling what is inherently there as a child's potential.
Tiska, I would like to add here is, the other thing that we tend to do is hamare zamane mein. I think we need to kind of get over that. Ab wo zamana gaya. Naya zamana is different for them, and we need to adapt to their zamana than constantly saying कि हमारे ज़माने में तो हम Catcher in the Rye पढ़ते थे, बेटा वही पढ़ो. नहीं भाई, there are Diary of Wimpy Kids that kids relate to, so let them read that, So yeah, I feel it's parents, as parents, we need to adapt more than they need to adapt.
Agreed, absolutely. Doctor, a question for you. A healthy and a fit child becomes a healthy and a fit grown-up. How important is a healthy set of teeth in maintaining overall health?
Well, Tiska, oral health is actually considered to be the window to an individual's overall health. Now, having clean teeth says a lot about a person. Okay. Now, of course, good oral hygiene measures like proper brushing, timely flossing do definitely help. But there are certain cases wherein, in spite of your religious regimen of oral hygiene measures, there could be certain times when, in spite of your proper brushing too, there would be some plaque or debris that is still residual between your teeth. Now, the reasons could be many. Because I'm an orthodontist, I see a lot of this on an everyday basis. It is mostly related to crooked teeth or malaligned teeth. Now, malaligned teeth or crooked teeth are not only harder to clean, because I've had braces. I'm telling you, I used to spend close to about 10-15 minutes at times to just get that one tiny thing that's stuck between my teeth. And I could never do that. In spite of me brushing twice a day, I could still have that unclean feeling in between my teeth. And post braces, I mean, back in the day, maybe a decade or two back, we didn't have much of an option. But yeah, post braces, that entire charade of me brushing for about 10 minutes, standing in front of the mirror with my mom looking at me saying, what the hell is he doing? He's a boy. I didn't raise him to be a girl. What's he doing looking into his teeth, of all the things? And I didn't know what to say to her. But then again, it was actually a genuine problem that I faced. And after having, my braces done, my teeth do not require more than about 2 or 3 minutes of brushing, and they stay clean. More importantly, I think also due to crooked teeth, you have your abnormal forces that play on your teeth, which lead to grinding of your teeth, in wearing of your teeth, thereby reducing the overall lifespan of the tooth in general. So rather than waiting for the problem to kind of magnify and develop into these very, very complicated things wherein you require extensive and expensive medical or dental procedures per se, I think it's best to just nip it in the bud. Go take your child. And in fact, today I'm going to raise this because you both are mothers and you've got younger kids. Usually you would see a lot of people telling you that you need to take a kid for braces consult or your dental checkup only after their permanent teeth have erupted. Now that is such a myth. If I had it my way, I think everybody should kind of go and visit an orthodontist, particularly at around the age of 7, because there's a lot of jaw issues that one might have along with their teeth issues that need to be tapped just at the right point in their growing up years. So yeah, overall, if you'd ask me, does oral health give you a window or an understanding into an overall health individuals? Yes, definitely, 100% without any doubt. I think just when intervened at the right time, I think it can lead to a very, very good life-enhancing result for an individual. Having very, very minimal procedures that's done, to make sure that they grow with a healthy dentition.
Wonderful point you brought out, Doctor. One of the things, Anupriya, please feel free to comment. You have a boy and I have a girl. I think boys are just as conscious about their looks, and like Dr. Shnava was saying that his mum used to think, have I raised a girl or a boy? I think men or young boys, teenage boys, are just as conscious about their looks and feel that today particularly there's a lot of pressure on boys and girls to look a certain way with social media. Your thoughts, Anupriya?
So yes and no. So yes, because they are conscious, but do they want to work upon them? I'm not sure as boys, So yeah, but like Dr. Prahlad mentioned, of course, it's like they say, "Jaan hai to jahan hai." And it's only unfortunately for me much later in life that I understood this jahan ka part, daant bahut important hai, and thankfully we as mothers now are more aware, and apart from ensuring that they don't eat too much junk, that they get their free play, that oral hygiene is equally important. Like Dr. Prahlad said, I took my son to the dentist for the first time when actually he was 7. And while I went to the dentist for the first time when I think I was my early 20s, I wish I could have gone sooner. So yeah, I mean, as mothers who are very aware, we are also ensuring that the child is growing up to be healthy, and that automatically leads to a confident child, I feel. But as boys, yes, they are conscious. Yes, like my son has long hair and he loves it, and I'm sure he's conscious because of, like he likes it, and that's why he's kept it like this. So he's obviously very aware of what he's doing.
How amazing. How amazing. Would love to see his picture. I will catch up with you later after the session. And what is he called?
He's Kabir.
Kabir. Nice. My daughter's called Tara.
I got to know. It's a beautiful name. I had wanted to keep my daughter's name Tara.
Oh, thank you. So next question, Doctor. Why do teens want to avoid braces? Like, what's the deal with that, and why should they absolutely not do that? So I want to understand, because obviously you meet a lot of patients, young teens. Why do they want to not do the whole braces thing? Is it the self-consciousness of having something strapped across their teeth? What is the sense of that?
So there are a couple of actual facts and certain myths also revolving around braces or teeth correction. that are already preset in their mind when they come across to me for a consult. Now, I've seen that most of the Gen Z that we are talking about today, in terms of the millennials, these guys are very, very smart. They want everything best. They want everything quick. They don't want anything that disrupts their lifestyle. They want a pain-free thing. Basically, they don't want to do much, but want to have the best of both worlds. It's something like that. So, truth be told, I was quite, stumbled when I met this one particular girl whom I saw in my consult, and she had seen another, patient of mine, and she was so impressed with the fact that she was wearing something that was not braces, but yet undergoing her teeth correction. Now, what was that? That was Invisalign. Now, Invisalign is nothing but an evolution of your braces. Back in the day, I didn't have it, so I had to wear those ugly braces.
The metal ones?
Yes, the metal ones, and they were painful. Not as much as I would have liked it to be, but yes, I did have certain diet restrictions. I did have to undergo it for almost 2.5 years. There were pain. Of course, brushing became a nightmare. First of all, I used to, like I told you, I used to take a long time in brushing with those braces there. Oh, it just made my life so much more difficult. But then again, today when I'm looking at Invisalign and what they have to offer the kids, I think it fits in very perfectly into the lifestyle. It takes care of multiple things. They're removable, very easily worn and taken off. In this generation of selfie culture that we have, I think it fits in perfectly. Wherein, it's relatively pain-free. It works quite faster in comparison to braces, almost up to the degree of 50% faster than braces, according to research. Now, having said that, I think it fits in perfectly into the lifestyle, and there's no reason why today's kids, at least, should be avoiding braces. I can vouch for that.
Anupriya, what do you feel about what the doctor just said? Why do you think kids avoid braces?
I think one of the thing is that that whole idea that we still have that it's going to be painful, and even I still think that it's painful. I didn't know until the doctor told me. I have a friend's daughter. She's going to be 17. And her mother told me that, she's been insisting that, please get braces done because I'm going to be 18 soon. And, I don't want to be wearing braces after a certain point. And she's like, due to COVID, I'm not sure if I should be taking her or not, but she's hell-bent. So they are very conscious and they want to get it done. But so it's just, I feel that, there are a lot of myths which are around it, maybe because of our own experiences as parents, and we are not updated enough maybe of the new technology, and we don't visit dentists enough, that every 6 months we should be going to a dentist. I don't think it's still a thing among us as I don't know if it's to do with India or not, but every 6 months we need to be going to the dentist so that we are updated about what can be done. Because I had a gap in my front teeth, and like I said, I would have wanted to get braces done long back in my life. Eventually I had to get a cap done, but it made a huge difference how I felt. My work requires me to smile, and for 33 years of my life I wouldn't smile like this. So that's the kind of difference.
Amazing, isn't it, that the smallest of changes can totally transform your experience, particularly when it comes to your looks, because even in my line of work, there are actors who you see that they have this what I would call a very constipated smile, and then you ask them that what's going on, and when they laugh, then you can see that they've got irregular teeth, and so obviously attention hasn't been paid to them at the right time for getting their teeth in a row, and getting them all nice and even, and it's such an asset, actually, just a wonderful smile. And I think it affects your also I think I say this all the time, that I haven't seen an ugly smiling face.
Correct.
There simply isn't.
Sorry.
Please.
I was just saying that while hygiene is very, very important, I feel we cannot ignore the aesthetics because, if aesthetic leads to hygiene, so be it.
Yeah, and I think Invisalign offers a happy marriage between the two. That you don't really see them, they're quick acting and they're kind of like easy to remove, easy to put on, and at the same time do the job that they're supposed to do in a medico-cosmetic space. So then that is just absolutely fantastic. Just a quick question, doctor, which is my personal question actually. Does Invisalign offer caps as well?
I'm sorry, come again, Tuska.
Does Invisalign offer caps as well, dental caps?
Caps? Okay, I'm not really sure what you mean.
Dental
But
capping of teeth.
Oh, no. So capping of teeth is a completely different, treatment modality. What Invisalign does offer is a replacement for braces. So essentially, it's an evolution of braces. Just like how our phones have turned from that dial-up roller. I don't know how many of those kids who are listening to us even are aware of, what those dial-up phones were. And, those push-button phones came in, and then we had a handheld. And luckily today we have, the latest of technology at our disposal. But it's the same that has happened in braces. So essentially, Invisalign is nothing but a transformation or an evolution of braces. So it does everything whatever braces would do, just at, a lot more convenience and comfort, as well as fast pace, lesser number of visits, particularly given the times that we are under right now. I wouldn't want any kid to actually go into a clinic unnecessarily for a visit for some emergencies with those wires and brackets and poking.
Bands.
Yeah, the bands. Oh, Satiska, you're an orthodontic patient. You've undergone that. Okay.
I haven't, but I have had friends whose rubber band has snapped in the middle of a meal and it's been kind of bizarre. Yeah, so let's we have a wonderful and educated audience. Let's take some questions from our audience. Can we have our first question from the audience, please? Okay, so our very first question is, how can we develop an interest for my child, wherein we put them in various activities like dancing, cricket, singing, etc. Will this also help them in developing their personality? How can we develop an interest in our child when we put them in various activities? Not necessarily a dental question, but again, a good question, and we can really talk about this. So let's try and address that, Anupriya. How do we develop an interest in children for extracurricular activities?
I'm not even sure if I'm the right person because, like I said, I've let my son be and choose his whatever he wants to, and I definitely don't believe in putting them into any activities because that takes away the time from free play, and I feel free play is way more important than any activity because that's when the child is thinking and maybe he's even bored, and that's when your mind develops because then you have thoughts. But apart from that, letting the child be and decide what they want to, let them choose the activity because then the onus is on them, make them responsible. And if they really can't or not suited for another activity, let them try different options.
Doctor, what is your opinion on how can parents get kids interested in activities that they feel they should be a part of?
Well, I completely second what Anupriya said, Tuska here. You shouldn't be enforcing your thoughts upon them as to what your hobbies might be. Don't try and force them into anything. Of course, give them options. Make them aware of their options. That is one thing that you as a parent can do. Having said that, I've had a mother or even my father in that regard. They never forced me to do anything, to be honest. And I turned out to be completely fine. I'm sure your parents did the same. And I'm sure they are very, very proud of you, of whoever you've become today. So I think let's just give them some space. Let's just give them, let's just have this belief that they are thinking individuals. They are not the same kind of people or the generation that we used to be back then. They're very well read, very well exposed. Just let's have faith in them. I think that should, empower them in making their own choices and turning out to be, just fine individuals.
Yeah, let's not make them another brick on the wall, like they say.
Indeed. What's interesting to me is that, like Anupriya was saying right at the start of the conversation, that she would sit with a book for 45 minutes and then read the book, and her son became an avid reader. A lot of parents ask this question, that we want our kid to be this, that, or the other, but they themselves are that, and the other. Absolutely. So kids don't listen to what you're saying, but they copy your actions. So if you yourself are on your phone but telling them to get off their tablet or to get off their PC, they're not going to do that, right? So they're going to be watching what you're doing. So if you're into sports and you're watching a singing program, for example, if you like it, or if you go down and play cricket with them, what you do with them is what will encourage them to do more of that. So, for example, my husband is a pilot, and it's too young for Tara to try and fly a plane. So I'm not saying that. But he's also a writer, and I've written 2 books as well. So, when she sees what I'm doing, she says, "What are you doing, Mama?" So I say, "Making my chapter. This is my cover. This is what this looks like." So she's actually watching that, and now she's written 2 short stories of her own. So I think to answer the question of the audience member who asked this question, I think it's rather than talk down to them and tell them that do this or the other. I think what you can do is start doing it yourself. And when they see you doing it and having fun doing it, the equation for them is very clear. Mommy or daddy is doing it. They look like they're having fun. So this activity is equal to fun in their head is what I'm thinking. It's just like a thought process that came to me from this. Now, moving on to our second question. Doctor, this is to you. To ensure healthy dental care, is an annual checkup enough? What recommendations for children with uneven teeth and overlapping teeth, and how will it affect their personality?
Well,
the annual dental checkup enough? Can you please address that first?
Yes. So, ideally, at least a year's checkup. You have to go to your dentist. I would say that go in for your first checkup with your kid, not only when they're facing some tooth issues or they have complaints of pain, but irrespective of whatever it might be. Like I said earlier, 7 years is when they actually develop their mixed dentition phase, which essentially means that they have both their milk teeth as well as their permanent teeth developing. They're undergoing a lot of changes in their teeth as well as in their overall body. So make sure that their teeth are checked upon at least, say, maybe once a year or maybe twice a year preferably, just so that you can catch any developing problems in the nick of time. You don't want those problems to blow up into very, very severely complicated problems. You want to catch them very, very young. You want to catch them at a very nascent stage, and make sure that it is taken care of and nipped in the bud.
Absolutely. Also, doctor, because you deal with a lot of teenage patients, what are the kind of sort of emotional issues that children have with their parents, with their appearance, and how does this affect their personality? So the question has 2 parts. For example, you might find a family coming in, a mother, a father, and a child coming in. Them being insecure about their appearance, does it affect the relationship with their parents and their peers?
The kids, right, Tiska? Absolutely. Yes. If you recall, I did mention about this one particular girl who had come into my office, and she was not very confident about the way her teeth looked, about her smile in general. She was very, very shy, coy, I would say timid personality. Over a period of time, as and when she kind of saw her transformation with her teeth getting more and more aligned, her smile automatically had that glow. I mean, I could see the, that
twinkle.
Yes, in her eyes, and it was so amazing to see. And Tiska, you'd be amazed. It just doesn't happen only with kids. Um, it doesn't matter. Your age actually doesn't matter. Of course, with kids, because we are all focused on them, we tend to see that and notice it. But I'm sure there are many, many, many other adults who undergo the same. And I see this with every patient of mine. A couple of months down the lane, after they begin their treatment, once they see their smile transforming or changing, they come to me with a very different personality, and I love it because they're so much more confident, so much more outgoing. I don't know how to describe it. I don't know what happens in the middle, but I'm sure just that teeth aligning, that minor change, brings about a whole change in your personality. And I'm saying this with a lot of confidence that every other orthodontist, whoever is watching today, and perhaps a patient who's undergone this transformation by themselves, I think they would agree with the same. That change of personality comes in. So yeah, their equations then change. They become a lot more confident. That reservedness, that timidness, that shyness, coyness, everything goes away. So yes, does it have an impact? Oh, it has much more of an impact than we can imagine. We often undermine the power of a beautiful smile, Tiska. And it's very unfortunate that, it's never been given the kind of attention as probably we would give, other problems that we might face in our life. I think teeth have always come in a little secondary. I think it stems with the fact that we have 32 of them in our mouth. So ek chala gaya to kya hoga? Dusre mein, kaam chala lenge. That's how it's been. So yeah, to surmise it, it definitely has a very, very life impacting effect. Once you have, a pretty smile or a nicer looking, healthier smile.
In fact, Tiska, I would like to add here, like Dr. Prahlad said, adults also go through such a change. Like personally, I have experienced it. And, again, children learn from what they see. So as confident adult, I know that, my child is seeing me confident. And if I am conscious, say, for example, of my smile, I'm not smiling enough, it is going to somewhere also reflect maybe in my child's personality. Because he's seeing that, as a person, I'm conscious. And, I don't know how at subconscious level that would, percolate in him, but I'm sure there is some difference there. And if I'm confident, obviously, I'm passing on those happy genes to him. Yeah, so maybe I'm not as articulate as Dr. Prahlad about it, but yeah, I really
No, Anupriya, it's the vibe. It's the vibe. Believe me, 70% of all human communication is actually non-verbal. It isn't verbal. It isn't coming out of your mouth. It's just in your body language. It's in your personality. That's what rubs off on the other individual. And I'm sure that is exactly what happens with all of the kids around. So they pick up on these finer things that we don't even say, but we might be doing them, and they, are very, very smart to pick those up right away. So yes.
There's another very important question, and that's my question as well. We all know it's important to brush at least twice a day, but my child does not brush at night. Asks someone who's on the webinar with us, an audience member, what is the way around that? Please tell me also, doctor. Because I'm tired, mama, not sleepy. And then even if they've eaten something sweet or some chulpul sticky thing or whatever, they still will not brush. So kya kare?
Tiska, I wish I had a magic wand that I could turn over here and I could get all the kids to brush at night. Of course, I don't have that, but yes, I would go back to your example that, one should lead with example. Probably they see you doing it. I'm sure they understand the importance of it. And a lot of us do not realize what we have lost until we have actually lost. I've got a mother who's about 68 years of age. Today, she doesn't have half the teeth in her mouth. I wish I could do something about it being a dentist myself, but unfortunately, the time has passed. It's always prevention is better than cure that the dictum defines, especially in dentistry. So nighttime brushing happens to be very, very important. It shouldn't be foregone. A lot of times patients do find it difficult, or it's just laziness that I would put it. I used to be that. But again, I think it's just a matter of time that they understand why it is to be done and why it is so important and necessary to do certain things, just the way how we don't want to get up and go to school, but then we did that. So I'm sure, it's just those prods that you need to give them in order to,
Maybe
inculcate that habit. And over a period of absolutely.
Make it a routine, like, mother-child routine or a father-child routine. And,
like
before
a fun
sleeping,
thing.
we are doing it together.
Yeah, that's one possibility. Also, I've started with we can let go of it on weekends, but weekends you can do just a rinse and a gum rub and a finger clean. But on weekdays you have to sort of brush with a brush and toothpaste.
And kids are very smart. They just pretend also, if you send them to the washroom, they'll just pretend and come back. Yeah, I did it.
That's true. So, doctor, how do we actually go about the Invisalign treatment? What is the process of it? How do you start it? Then what happens? And so on.
So, Invisalign is a system which involves clear plastic aligners or trays, which are invisible. In the name itself, it says invisible and aligner, Invisalign, when you merge the two. It's a very convenient form of aligning your teeth. So essentially what happens when the first visit, I tend to take records of the patient. Now, what do I mean by records? I basically do a general examination as to how their overall hygiene is, the health of the teeth is, the bone condition that they have underneath their teeth. And based on that, if they have also any jaw-related issues that need to be addressed. Now, after I have made my analysis using all of the photographs, the radiographs, that is the X-rays, and there's a 3D scan that is virtually done for Invisalign particularly. Now, that 3D scan gives me a representation of what their teeth is like, even after they have walked out of my office and are not in front of me anymore. So that model is what is then used along with all of their records that I have taken in terms of the photographs and the radiographs or the X-rays. And then I make the proper orthodontic plan for them. Essentially, there has to be a roadmap that is chalked for their teeth to be aligned without making much of a damage biologically. And now, once that has been done, we then order for the aligners. That is, it needs to be customized, manufactured in a facility that is not here in India, at least as of now. And it needs to get shipped from all the way, from the US. And then it comes, say about 3 to 4 weeks in. And once you have the aligners, you begin wearing them on your own. Between 1 and 2 weeks is when you start changing them. You start seeing those results. You start feeling those changes right from the very first week, unlike your braces, wherein, you would just be grappling with that pain initially and wouldn't have, the right form of mind to even think about it as to, what is happening and, with my teeth. Is doctor trying to just torture me? Trust me, kids, we don't intend to torture you. We intend to, just make your life better and for good. So trust your doctor with whatever, issues you may have in terms of your teeth. And I think it should just be fine. So once they wear these aligners or they get started wearing these aligners, over a gradual span of time, you will start seeing those teeth moving into the desired positions or into that healthier position that we had planned them or intended them to go to. And all of this happens quite digitally, Tiska. They don't have to necessarily make in-office visits as frequent as how we would have it with braces, like monthly ones I used to go as a kid. So that is eliminated entirely, which, like I said, in today's times is much more relevant than ever.
Yeah, absolutely it is. And I think also what's really interesting is that the children don't have the self-consciousness of having that metal, like a lot of kids. We used to call it metal mouth. There was
I mean,
to call someone, used to call them jaws, used to call them like sharp, used to call them all very bad names. That was a very naughty. So, call them all these horrible names, but with Invisalign, it's very clear that it's kind of a very subtle manipulation. It's almost invisible, and yet you achieve the desired result in a short time. So that is absolutely amazing. And we have time for one more question, which is with online classes being the new norm, children spend most of their time on the screen. how can we get them involved in physical activity? Anupriya.
Priska, before I answer this, I have one question that I wanted to ask Dr. Prahlad, because it's in continuity to what he said. What is the minimum age when the aligners can be done, and what's the maximum age? Okay, beyond that, we can't help you.
Okay, so I don't have a age group that I can tell you, but I have a patient as young as 8 and I have a patient as old as 70. So now you do the math. Where do they fit in?
that gives me
okay.
hope.
Yeah. So I can vouch for this, that there's no actual starting point. Whenever you feel or whenever you notice that there might be something wrong with the kid, take them to the orthodontist. That's the first thing you do. And as long as you have natural teeth inside your bones, which are not artificially placed, to replace your natural teeth, I think your teeth can be moved as long as they're healthy. Okay. What do I mean by healthy? They need to be in a healthy bone. That's where you can do Invisalign. You can do all the other forms of treatment, but particularly Invisalign. Even in cases wherein their gum health might not be all that strong, I've seen that Invisalign works wonders in such cases, because with braces we tend to apply a little more force when compared to aligners or Invisalign in particular. So there's no age group as such, Anupriya. It's just something that can be used for the youngest of the youngest and for the oldest of the oldest, as long as they have natural teeth inside their jaw bones.
Great, thank you so much. And Trista, coming back to your question, I feel again the answer is the same. Lead by example. If you're playing, the kids are going to play. If you're going to enjoy play, the kids are going to see how much fun you're going to have. So I just feel that as adults we forget to play, and we forget how much joy playing can bring. Just running around, just letting yourself free. Is how I like to take it. I don't tell my son that you need to go and play. I work out, I go out and run, and I do certain things because of which he's going to see that, okay, my mom is almost 40 and she still, loves physical activities. That's my only way of teaching, leading by example.
Fantastic. That makes a great deal of sense. I was also about to add that while school is online, I've tried to follow this practice that because it's online, a lot of the stuff gets stored on the school. They have a sort of notice board and other places where they store what is studied in the class on that particular day. So I sort of don't take it all that seriously, that if she is missing a particular class, so we go off every second or third weekend, because being cooped up in a flat and not having the ability to meet other children and have that face-to-face interaction, running around in their school playground and going from this laboratory to the music class to the soccer practice to the whatever, not being able to do all of that and sitting in front of one computer and even doing their PE like that, it's so sad. It's such a difficult and sad thing to see. So what we do is we skip down every sort of 2 or 3 weeks and go somewhere very close by, like drive somewhere for a 1-night, 2-night weekend stay. And I follow up with her with hard sheets, with hard copies of whatever it is, and do it actually like written stuff with no computer, no need for computer. So we just follow that, because the ultimate aim is learning. And the other thing that I find very useful is, there's nothing that teaches a child like nature. So, sitting amongst plants. So we were at this staycation just like a couple of days back. So from beetles, seeing those tiny little multicolored, jewel-colored beetles that were there, to seeing the dogs and cats and owls, white owls flying around in the night. It was just unbelievable, because there's so much that you can weave around with stories and what's going on, and exploring the natural world and seeing how vegetables are growing and what's happening with trees and plants. That's biology, that's chemistry, that's physics. So that's going on and to talk. And as we were driving, we would calculate the total number on the number plate and say, so 7755 is how much? So 7 plus 7 is how much, plus 5 plus 5 is how much, and so we play that game. So I'm saying that learning can happen anywhere, provided you are of the mind to to encourage that form of thinking. So that's something that I've been following myself for a bit of time now.
I think,
I
Tiska,
agree.
I'd like to add here, your movie Tare Zameen Par exactly surmised the same.
Correct. Absolutely.
You know, there couldn't have been a better showcase of that. So I think, you know, if we could just take a cue from that.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Doctor. Thank you, Anupriya. And
Thank
Doctor,
you so much.
you have beautiful teeth yourself, and Anupriya, you are second to none. Such lovely teeth, and
Thanks to the dentist.
Thank you so very much, Tiska. It's been an honor and a privilege to share the dice with you guys. See you. Take care. Have a great day ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Prahlad.
Extremely insightful conversations. So let's transform our teens to beautiful human beings inside out. We'll be coming to you live next week, next webinar on the 12th of November with a brand new topic. So stay tuned and we'll see you next week. Till then, ciao.